What actually happens to your career when the first 10% of software creation suddenly costs absolutely zero? Are your hard-earned skills about to become obsolete? Well, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're extracting some totally undeniable, frankly hardcore truths from a deep dive with Notion's head of product, Max Schoening. We're going to unpack exactly how AI is completely rewriting the rules of the game.
Look, I know there is a massive amount of anxiety right now about AI coming for our jobs, right? We're seeing this total collapse of the traditional boundaries between designers, engineers, and PMs. But what does that actually mean for you on a Tuesday, sitting at your desk?
Let's look at this absolutely wild quote from Max. The first 10% of every project are now free. Think about the sheer gravity of that. It takes literally almost zero effort now to stand up the first functioning version of a startup. That initial barrier to entry, poof, gone, evaporated. And because of that, the premium you can command in the market is shifting. It's moving away from just basic creation, and it's landing squarely on top-tier execution and highly refined taste. Okay, moving into our first major shift, the end of job titles and the total merging of design, product, and engineering. Just look at the stark contrast between the old way and the new way. The old way of building software, it meant writing these massive, incredibly boring PRDs and handing over completely static design mockups. Max uses this brilliant analogy. He says, stop drawing dead fish. And that's exactly what static mockups are, dead fish. The new way, though, cutting-edge teams like the folks over at Notion are literally prototyping chat interfaces right inside LLM-friendly code bases. They're living in terminal playgrounds. Code isn't just for specialized engineers anymore. It's becoming the raw material for everybody. Now, before you start hyperventilating about AI completely replacing all knowledge work, listen to this hot take. Max jokes, we already have universal basic income. It's called knowledge work. And you know, he kind of hits the nail on the head. We get paid incredibly well to sit in nice air-conditioned rooms and click-clack on our keyboards. We really need to acknowledge how privileged this sector is, take a collective deep breath, and focus on adapting our actual skills to this wild new reality.
Right, so how exactly do we adapt? It all hinges on this next major shift, cultivating high agency.
This right here is the absolute defining trait that will separate the people who thrive from the people who get left behind. Agency isn't some technical skill you learn at a coding bootcamp. It's the capacity to truly realize that the world around you is completely malleable. Before AI, you could easily say, oh, I can't build this, I don't know how to code. Well, that skill issue excuse, it's dead. AI models bridge that technical gap in seconds. So now your personal agency, your raw innate drive to just do things, is quite literally your only true differentiator. This totally echoes a classic Steve Jobs quote that Max says he lives by. One day, you wake up and you realize the world is made up by people no smarter than you. That realization should be a massive wake-up call. You don't need anyone's permission to tinker, to iterate, to completely reshape the tools you use every single day. The software you rely on, it was built by regular humans, just like you. Which leads us perfectly to this incredibly aggressive, but honestly perfect mindset. Drive it like it's stolen. Seriously, you've got to adopt this high agency mindset where you treat your product, your company, and your tools with just relentless ownership. Push the absolute boundaries of your role and see what this new raw material of code can actually do for you. Okay, so as builders start gaining this crazy level of agency, the software they make has to evolve too. Let's look at building malleable software. So what exactly is malleable software? It's software that works closer to the interests of you, the user, rather than the giant corporation that made it. Think about it like this. Imagine living in a gorgeous house, but the landlord says you aren't allowed to rearrange the living room furniture. Ever. That's basically how most modern SaaS apps work today. They're just rigid little lockdown squares on your phone. Malleable software flips the script and hands that ownership right back to you. And malleable software has a few absolutely core traits you need to know. It adapts to your incredibly specific workflows. It totally blurs the line between you consuming the software and you creating it. But here's the catch. As Max points out, we do still need open platforms to handle the heavy lifting. People don't want the nightmare of maintaining servers, right? They just want communal building blocks without having to start from literal scratch every time. But wait, with all these infinite AI capabilities right at our fingertips, how do we actually build something people want to use? Let's get into finding the tiny core. Because if pixel-perfect design, flawless engineering, or just having a massive mountain of features aren't the ultimate deciders of success anymore, what actually moves the needle? Max argues, and I completely agree, that the greatest products in history didn't win by trying to be everything to everyone. No way. They won by having a tiny core that acts as an absolute superpower. They do one incredibly specific thing flawlessly. Slapping just one more feature onto a broken core product, it literally never works.
The historical proof on this is just undeniable. Look at Dropbox. What was their tiny core? It just kept your files synced without you doing a thing. That little green checkmark icon in your menu bar, it meant everything was safe. Period. Heroku's superpower? You typed git push Heroku master into a terminal and bam, you instantly had a live URL. GitHub? The pull request. It made collaborating on code totally frictionless. You have to find that tiny core for your product, and you have to protect it at all costs.
To find that core, though, you need something called taste. And taste isn't some mystical magic you're born with. It's essentially running a mental virtual machine trained by thousands of reps and tight feedback loops. It's exactly like training a machine learning model. You input a prototype, you gauge the reaction from your specific target audience, and you back propagate that exact feedback to relentlessly iterate. You just have to put in the reps. All right, we've covered a massive amount of ground today. Let's jump into the core review and rapidly extract the hardcore, quantifiable facts from this breakdown. Do not ignore these metrics, okay? The cost of entry to build that first 10% is now effectively $0. It's free. The merging of designers into coding, that isn't some sci-fi future prediction, it's a historical fact. Even pre-AI, up to 10% of the top code contributors to GitHub's own platform were literally designers. The tiny core rule is absolute law, and building taste, it's a highly mechanical process of back propagation and iteration, not just guessing in the dark. So what is your ultimate takeaway today? The underlying logic is so simple. You have to stop jealously guarding your specific job title. Your agency and your absolute mastery of the raw material, which is code, matter vastly more right now than whatever it says on your LinkedIn profile. But of course, this leaves us with a highly provocative debate. Is this totally fluid merging of product managers, designers, and engineers a genius workflow evolution? Or is it a guaranteed way to lose specialized hardcore craft? Some people argue that by blending everyone together, we're going to lose those hyper-specialized engineers who actually know how to scale software for 100 million users. But others, they see it as the ultimate removal of bottlenecks. So where do you stand on this? Drop your hardcore argument in the comments below. Is this blending of roles pure genius or a massive mistake? Let us know, and when you comment, we will immediately send you the exact tool stack and the complete mental model mind map we just broke down in this explainer. Thanks for hanging out with us, and keep building.